AboutFACE Theatre presents 5 Questions With, and today's guest, actor Mick Mellamphy. Mick is an Irish actor based in New York. He's won the Best Actor Award at the First Irish Festival twice, and has recently gained a whole new audience for his work for his role as Sean MacGuire in the video game Red Dead Redemption 2. Mick, you're very welcome.
I'm delighted to be here, Anna and Paul. Thanks a million for having me on. I'm thrilled to see you again after quite a few years. So thanks a million.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Thank you.
Great.
So we don't like to delay. We like to jump right in. So just to start off, Mick, what play or experience got you into theatre?
I remember I went to a primary school in Cork called Sculbarra in Ballincollig, and there was a lady there called Karen O'Sullivan. And I wasn't the greatest student in the world when I was young. And when I went to this school, they did the school musicals. And I'll never forget auditioning for a school musical about the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I auditioned for it, and I got the part. And I can still remember to this day walking home, so excited, telling my mom I'd been cast. And learning my lines, learning the songs, learning the music. And that experience actually kind of taught me about learning about things like history and learning things about geography. Like, I'd never heard of Selma or Birmingham, Alabama. I thought it was funny that there was a Birmingham in America, you know, because growing up in Ireland, you hear about Birmingham in the United Kingdom all the time.
Yeah.
So that was like really my first experience of theatre, and it just opened up a whole kind of world and a whole way of learning as well. Yeah, that would be the first kind of experience that I remember. Obviously, when I was young, my grandmother used to bring me to the Cork Opera House to see the panto. And she used to tell me, you could be up there someday. And
She was right.
Needless to say, I was. I ended up doing the panto a couple of times.
That's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so obviously, Mick, then clearly panto, you know, is a big part of your early life. But what's a great play that you love and why? Well,
there's two that spring to memory. The first would be The Field by John B. Keane, because I got to work with the amazing Paul Nugent, Irish rep, in 2006, and I actually did. I actually really enjoyed doing that, working with you on that, Paul. That was great crack.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite theatre experiences.
It was.
That show. Yeah,
it was so much fun. I always remember you had a World Cup 2006 towel hanging up right next to your mirror.
I did. It's true.
And the reason I remember is because I had just come back from that World Cup. I actually had been over there, and I took over Larry Lowry's role, so I was able to have a bit of fun, then come and do a bit of work. But one play that I really do love, that is another one that kind of got me interested in theatre, is the musical Oliver by Lionel Bart, based on Charles Dickens' novel, of course. I played the Artful Dodger in the Cork Opera House in 1991. Nice. It also gave me my first taste of being on television, because you're probably too young to remember, but there used to be a show called Joe Maxey.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. It used to come on after Dempsey's Den. And
it was like the cool teenage show.
That's for all the hip teenagers. Before hip was even a thing. Back then, like, a hip was something that you heard your grandmother was getting replaced. You know? But yeah, that was where the hip teenagers used to go, like, after their younger brothers and sisters watched Zig and Zag for a few hours. But yeah, I got to do that with the Irish Operatic Repertory Company. And that was my first professional gig, I suppose. I must have been about maybe 12 or 13, I think. Maybe 14 at the time, in 1991. Yeah. So that's a play that's very close to my heart. Yeah. But I have a bit of a funny love affair with every single play I do. And I do tend to fall in love with them, and just, you know, they become kind of like romances, I guess. And then I look back on them all fondly, like they're some sort of wonderful ex that we had a brief time with. That sounds really weird. I do. I feel like that about every play I ever get involved with. I find that it becomes a bit of a relationship, and so I think of them all very fondly.
That's great. I love it. So now you think of them fondly. Now, has there ever been a play or an experience in your theater life where it ended up not how you expected? You know, things turned out differently than you thought they would.
Yeah, well, that happens quite a lot, actually. That's nothing ever turns out quite as it's expected, I think. I mean, I've fallen off stages. I've had some major wardrobe malfunctions. Funny, I was doing Shadow of a Gunman just 2 years ago. I still think last year. even though it was full of all the horrible stuff from COVID, wasn't last year. 2 years ago, I was proud to play Seamus Shields. There's a cop making noise outside. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Real life.
You just heard me.
That's New York for you.
There you go. So yeah, I played Seamus Shields, and it was a wonderful, wonderful production at the Irish Rep, part of the O'Casey cycle. And we rehearsed for like 5 weeks. We're in the rehearsal room, and for people who may not know the play, the Seamus begins the play fast asleep in bed, listening to his front door being banged. And opening night, actually the very first preview, first time in front of an audience, we sit down. We don't sit down. I lie down in the bed. The lights come up, and just as the lights are coming up, somebody's like earpiece that they give to some audience members for who might be hard of hearing just starts going. And there's nothing. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Poor James Russell, who was playing Donald Davron, is just like, what do we do? And you can just hear someone in the audience going, I can hear fine. Someone's trying to tell him, like, really? Like, first performance in front of an audience? So yeah, I mean, things like that happen all the time, and it's great lessons. You just roll with it, you know, and things like that happen quite a bit. That was unexpected.
Yeah.
That happened maybe 3 weeks into the run. We'd have been like, okay, we got this, but very first performance in front of a live audience. So yeah, these are the things you got to roll with, you know.
Yeah. And that first night, you're just jangling with nerves, and you're just dying to do it for the audience for the first time and just get it out of your system. Yeah.
And you know, even especially like for like first night previews as well, you know, like the audience is there to see it, and it's a kind of special thing, like, because it's the first time. It's like somebody's like seeing a newborn for the first time. It's kind of cool, and that's these things happen.
Well, so obviously there's trials and tribulations in the theatre, but we love it. So Mick, what's it about the theatre that keeps you coming back? What excites you about it? What moves you about it?
The paycheck, my dear.
Really? For theatre?
No, not at all.
Little
not at all.
humor for you.
The paycheck, that's for sure. I'm trying to put my finger on that. I love it. I find, for me personally, I think collaboration is something that's really, really important to me. I love the feeling of being in a team. And also I love getting into the boots and the skin of another character. I love kind of looking at the world in a different way. It opens up my mind, I guess. It opens up to other points of view. So that's kind of what keeps me coming back. Also, it's a challenge. I find, like, you know, you can, from picking up a play and opening up the very first page to having the final glass of champagne on the closing night, I've been able to kind of bookend a project and look back at it and have that is quite thrilling. I think the thrill of the roller coaster of, you know, that journey is something that, you know, I'm kind of addicted to, I guess. I think I have a little bit of an addictive personality. And I think that's something, I think theatre gives me something very positive in that regard. I will say as well, in terms of having an addictive personality, when that goes away the next day, I always feel a little bit lost. It always takes me a few days to kind of come down from it. So there's all that. There's a sense of adrenaline there. I think actors are actually quite like athletes in a sense that we're driven by a lot of the same, kind of emotions and feelings, even though we might put different energies into what we do, but it's a similar kind of a vibe. So yeah, there you go.
I know.
And even just to reiterate about theatre, sorry, I don't even get that from other mediums. I mean, I love working in television whenever I get the opportunity, and I absolutely adored working on the video game on Red Dead. And that was actually as close to theatre, I think, something that I've ever worked on. The closest thing I've ever worked on was Red Dead Redemption 2, to actually being with a cast and with a crew and working on something that felt like it was theatre. But yeah, the camaraderie and the collaboration and all that. And just like theatre, some guy's on his horn outside now. Just Well, there's been nothing but silence here on my apartment on 31st Street here between 2nd and 3rd all day long. And the minute you guys come on, there's sirens and people on their horns. So.
Well, we just want to prove that you're actually in New York and not just hiding in Cork somewhere.
So, and you mentioned before, that, as far as the unexpected, you learn to just kind of cope with whatever is thrown at you. But is there anything else, any kind of skill or anything that you've learned or that you use in theater that you now take into the rest of your life?
That's a really great question. I mean, the obvious answers there are kind of like, I think you do get to learn how to be have more empathy, because you are kind of looking at the world through the lens of other characters. I really enjoy playing characters that I find they might have different opinions to me. The one skill I think that I've had to learn, and I never realized it until recently. I never realized it until I really kind of started focusing my career into theater a bit more, is and I don't know if you have the same experience. How do I put this? I guess a lot of time when people ask you to speak, when people ask you to do things, they expect, because you're an actor, that, oh, well, you can do this easy, just improvise.
Yeah.
The one skill I've learned that really works for me is I need ample time to rehearse. And that's the greatest skill I think any actor has, is time. I am using time wisely. That goes for auditions. It goes for being on time. I think they're the two most important, lessons for an actor, is to be on time and be off book. And that's all about the rehearsal process, whether it's rehearsing for an audition or whether it's rehearsing for being on stage, and also whether it's for rehearsing in life. I've spoke to a lot of friends recently. The last year has given us a lot of reflection, I think.
Yeah.
And that's something I've reflected on a lot. And it's something I've tried to impart to friends who work in different fields. The more time you give yourself to actually think about these things, the better. And I think we're even seeing it. A lot of professionals who normally would never have to do these kind of Zoom calls and meetings in the past, you can see now that they're all starting to get it down. They're all starting to rehearse their bits, rehearse their spiels, actually set it up, make sure that it looks right. These are all skills that we all learn as actors, a lot of time not even realizing it.
Yeah, no, it's really true.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, Mick. I could talk to you all day, and we probably would anyway. But just as a bonus question, Mick, what are you working on at the moment?
At the moment, well, I'm still working on First Irish. The co-curating, as glamorous as it sounds, doesn't stop the minute everything goes up. So and again, because it's such a collaborative effort, we have a wonderful team at Origin Theatre Company here. They're absolutely brilliant. George Heslin, who you both know, who set up Origin years ago, he's in the process of moving jobs right now, and he's taken over the New York Irish Centre in Queens, which is wonderful. And myself and Sarah Street, my co-curator, we've been working on First Irish. It's purely a project that we're doing now. We don't know what the future holds in that regard, but the team that they've built up around us is fantastic. But we're both still fielding questions from customers, from artists. It's been an absolute joy working with so many wonderful companies, especially AboutFACE. I mean, you guys were just on the ball. You were so professional and so brilliant about, working with us. So we both thank you from the bottom of our hearts for that. In terms of, I'm trying to put something together for St. Patrick's Day around that time, because last year, it'll be the 1 year anniversary of Broadway shutting down. I was due to start working on Ronan Noon's The Smuggler, which is a new play that I've been working on for a few years off Broadway around New York. And we had finally penciled in some dates at the Irish Rep down on 22nd Street, which is our alma mater.
Yes, amazing theatre, theatre.
Wonderful people, I love it. And unfortunately, because Broadway is dark, it's been postponed. It is going to go ahead once the theatres reopen again, but that's something that I've no excuses when the theatres reopen for me not to be off book. So that's something that
you certainly had time, Mick. You certainly had time.
That I work on. Yeah, we're talking about 5 weeks rehearsal there. I've had a lot of rehearsal. But I'm trying to put something together. I don't know quite yet what, but I'm trying to put something together through this medium of online for around St. Patrick's Day, just to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and just to, give a little toast and a cheers to Broadway still being with us, even though the doors are closed, the lights are still on. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. And also just, I think COVID has taught a lot of us all that, you know, just getting up and doing something positive for yourself every day, whether it's going for a jog or cooking dinner or, you know, not having that sixth can out of the six pack. They're all little wins, and wherever you can find a little win right now is important. So that's, I'm also working on life.
Good man.
That sounds perfect, Mick. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Mick, thank you so much for joining us. It was just so delightful to have you here. And, you know, like Paul said, we could talk to you for days, as you know.
Thanks a million, guys.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
And thanks for being so good about Origin First Irish Theatre Festival and all. And if anybody needs any information, check out Origin Theatre at www.origintheatre.org. See, I need rehearsal time.
Thank you so much, Mick. And thank you everyone else for joining us for AboutFACE Theatre Presents 5 Questions With. We look forward to seeing you next time.